Alright, so in the previous video we started with our base extrusion using the top view. Now we're going to get a chance to take a look at a workflow or a framework, if you will, how to continue to develop the remaining features of this solid model. So I'm going to start by looking at the left view here, and I want to focus your attention on creating the UCS, saving the UCS, and also navigating the model with your views. Okay? So refer to your drawing for the actual dimensions. Alright, back here again in our model, you can see I have the drawing area split into two different viewports. On the left side here I have the top view, and on the right side I have the ISO view. What I want to do is I want to create the features that belong on the left face here. Okay? And how do I know this is the left face? Well, if you take a look, you can actually use the view cube to confirm. There's the left face right there. Right? And so what I'll want to do here is establish the left face UCS and be able to save it so that if I need to come back and make corrections, I can do that. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. Again, you can see you have your tools here in the Home tab under the Coordinates. For this part though, I like to use the View tab because I also have next to each other, I have the views here, coordinates, as well as the visual styles. So these are kind of the tools that I'm going to be using right now together with the navigation tools to establish and save the UCS. To make the UCS, I'm going to be in the right viewport using the isometric view. And the reason for this is because this way I can clearly see what's in front or behind when I'm doing selection. And sometimes it may help just to switch it back to 2D wireframe. Right now you can see with the grid on, you can see also, if you'll notice here in the navigation wheel, you can see I have the UCS set to World UCS, right? You can see how it's laying down. It started at the origin. That's the World UCS. We're going to produce a new UCS for just this face. So I'll come over here to Coordinates and use my 3-point UCS command. Activate that, and it immediately prompts me to establish the new origin, right? I'm going to use the bottom left hand corner here. Make sure you use your drafting settings. So left click here, and I'm going to drag the mouse, and this is going to establish the direction of the x-axis. Okay? So anywhere along that edge, you can use the midpoint there to left click again, and that establishes the x-axis. Now I'm going to move up along the edge here and use the endpoint here to establish the y-axis with a third click. Now you can see how that grid has reoriented itself, and now it's on the front face, or on the front leading face, right, of the left face of the part. And now I'll use the UCS dialog to go ahead and name it. So here it shows up. It's a new UCS. I don't know what that is, right? Unnamed is not descriptive enough, but I just created it. So I'm going to call this the left face and click OK. Now you can see with the navigation wheel here that I can switch between the World UCS and the left face UCS fairly easily. Let's establish the other UCSs as well. Okay, so again, whenever you want to use the view cube, I would always re-establish the World UCS so you can see the correct orientation with respect to the world, right? If I use the upper right corner here, you can see now I have a different isometric view, which now allows me to see the front face and the right face. Again, we're going to establish the front face UCS. In this particular approach, we don't necessarily, since we don't have a corner there, it's not really necessary that we start in the corner because we have other reference points, right? We have the midpoint here, and we have the midpoint here of the face as well. So unless we actually needed to establish that as the origin, since we don't have the geometry to do that, it should be fine. We can just go ahead and use 3-point UCS, and we can start over here in the midpoint of the face. Just find the midpoint there. Might have to zoom in a little bit. There's midpoint. So this would be the new origin. And then somewhere along this line, right, using your polar tracking, we can establish the X. And then moving up, you can select the midpoint of that top edge to establish the front face UCS. And now you should see the grid standing up, right? And as we orbit, we can see it's right on the face. Okay, now again, what I would recommend you do is go over here to the UCS dialog box. And you can see here's the second unnamed UCS, and we're going to call this front face. Now finally, we'll go ahead and do the right face UCS as well. So once again, what I would tell you to do is switch back to World UCS. Okay? And also, because we don't have that corner here, we can just use any point along the face. Okay? It's not so critical because we're going to be using construction lines and we're going to be using offset to locate our features. So here what I'll do is, again, 3-point UCS. We'll start in the mid plane right here, right? The midpoint of this face. Click. And then we'll come over here, use the endpoint there to establish the x-axis. And then as we move up, we'll use the midpoint here of this top edge. And there we go. That right there will represent the right face UCS. Again, switch over to your UCS named dialog box and rename that right face. Okay, so now you can see that we have all the UCSs that we need. Here's the right, here's the left, and we also have the front. Now, in the next video, we're going to take a look at developing the features on each of these faces, utilizing the UCSs and working with 2D geometry and also regions together with the solid editing tools.